Well, first, let's discuss some emotions. Again, why do we have emotions? Did a little editing break, so I'm trying to make sure I'm in the right place. Not the best editor. But we know we have emotions, something simple like happy or sad. We have anger and frustration. We have satisfaction and content. We can be somber and melancholy. We can be excited or nervous. We can be aroused. We can be turned on. It's like there, right? When I was talking about dichotomistic pairs, there's one that I would put two words in one elemental slot, turned on. Right? Everyone, if you said I'm turned on, no one's going to not know what you're saying if they're older than puberty. Calm, you could be calm or agitated. You could have intrigue or you could be bored. Again, some the same connotation, some related, some opposites, but just listing some emotions. But why? What's the point of them? Well, they're efficient. We can make choices for ourselves. If you feel pain, it's like, that's bad. But fundamentally, people know what's right and wrong. And so when you have an emotional output, emotions are fundamental. Again, emotionality is part of personality. So you know things. It is emergent to learn about the world around you, to understand other organisms, right? We all have the same reactions times. We proved that 4 or 5 years ago rigorously from first principle. But that's when you get kind of philosophical. We're all the same. We're all one. All right. So we have emotions to understand each other, and they're consistent. Right. What makes somebody frustrated might be different, but everyone knows what frustration is, or agitation, or happiness, and this or that, or whatever the emotions are. And so they're just efficient phenomenon to help us increase the information of the universe, to limit the entropy the best we can, to learn about the world around us, including one another. And so it's pretty easy to understand if you drop a ball, it's going to go into the center of a mass. It's a lot harder to figure out where your girlfriend wants to go to dinner. Random history thing, but I'm very certain, well, I guess it's not super random because it's linguistics and translation, but when historically, I don't even need to look at the text, but when they say Mary was a virgin, like Virgin Mary, the big historical figure, she wasn't a virgin in the sense of never having sex, nor was she the mistranslation into she had that she was young. A lot of people will say historically that they've kind of gone away with, because it'd be pretty hard to convince somebody that you can have a child without having sex. And again, you might be able to point to some examples in biology, like in zoos, where it's seemingly something reproduces without a sexually reproducing organism has a baby without having a partner or having the capacity to have a partner. Is that really possible at all in general? I can't see it being possible, but again, just some sort of fluke mutation, maybe again in another species, but we have so many iterations of human beings, probably another one would have happened. But the point being is she wasn't a virgin in the sense of sexless, and she wasn't a virgin in the sense of young. She was a virgin in the sense of new. In the same way you can say, I'm a virgin to skydiving. I've never been skydiving, so I'm a virgin skydiver. She was a virgin mother. She was a new mother. So she wasn't sexless and she wasn't young. She had never had a child before. So that's where that adjective modifies. So you can say confidently, historically, that Jesus was an eldest child. Most certainly not the oldest. I haven't proven that, but proven for certain that word indicates that he was the oldest child. Probably got piped down by a Roman soldier. But the word virginity in that context means new mother. And so how many siblings? I think he had 2, I'm not sure, but I don't have any sort of unique insight into how many. I just know for sure that he was the eldest. But that was just a random, and a random history fact will pop out, a random biology fact will pop out. Internality and externality. We've done a lot of things, again, defining a local system, something that could be complete. My notebook being independent of me, we're still connected. Our movements still influence one another's movements, but we can separate and be independent of one another. So we've defined a system, what's in terms of reference frame, point of view. So there was a big intuitive grappling of what is internal and external, and how do you establish that? because you're born in your body, in your, people say think outside the box. And so it's like, when we're talking about the nuance to prepositions and learning languages and how that affects logic, particularly with the chirality, you have to have a unique, language as a vector. It depends on what you say, the direction you say it, and the order of the words. All right. So if you're in something, you're within an object, or you're outside you're within a system, or you're outside of a system. You're in or you're out. But boundaries and closure considerations, again, I can't draw the initial intuition because it's developed more since when I first had it, but again, the concept of closure was huge when talking about the generalized end polygons and how you have to have a minimum of 3 to create a closed object. But I just have the word in, through, and out. And so as separate as, the dichotomistic pair setup, but with 3 elements, trichotomistic, and what I wanted to, the only thing I can say really logically is, again, I had a profound personal intuition of the preposition through. You think it through. Think what through? Anything. Just think it through. What does that mean? And then you sit there and you think about each word and their implications. And so there's some importance to the preposition through, THROUGH, in the English language. But that would probably be how we connect our definition, is censorship through this or that. Because remember, dimensionless analysis isn't dimensional. A unit comes when you equate something, when you use is. So we'll even have a ton of forms of solution, or the final solution, outside of the verb is, which we just discussed, and properly maybe just an expression with a preposition. And so again, the final solution will present itself when it does, but we're getting more details, more bits and pieces. We're down at the police station, and we have a prime suspect. We saw the crime. Now we have the general solution. It is what it is. Now we have an idea of the specific solution, sensorality. And now we're there with our sketch artist, and he has brown hair. He had a yellow shirt on. He has a big nose. And so we're filling in our details until we can see the face. But also, and again, through in is not a word. In through is not a word. Out through is not a word. Throughout is a word. So again, something special with the preposition through. But again, I just have to think outside the box, and again, that's just a reference to another commonly spoken thing that references this type of intuition that I'm playing with right now and trying to provide any closer operative words, or elicit more operative words for our question to solidify our axiom. And so kind of our final thing I wanted to say, but getting to the possession, this was another nuanced thing that popped out to me today in my session, was possession in spoken conversation utilizes plurality and is differentiated with written script, or is differentiated with symbolism with written script. Meaning, if I say, let's say we'll talk about me in the third person. We'll talk about Brad's small meat. Brad has small meat, obviously from the store, but we'll just keep the sentence simple. Brad has small meat. And so, Brad, that's a proper noun, that's me. So if I say Brad's meat is small, if I want to say that's Brad's meat, I would put Brad and then an apostrophe S. That's showing plurality, or that's showing possession. But if I'm using the general form and someone's degraded me and doesn't see me as a human being, and I'm all sad, and somebody says it, as in not using my correct pronouns, doesn't want to misgender me, and it says its meat is small, You wouldn't say, for possession, you would not use apostrophe S. You wouldn't put IT apostrophe S. That would be it is meat small. That wouldn't make any sense. It is meat small. Makes no sense. Brad's meat small makes sense. But IT apostrophe S is it is every single time, and ITS without an apostrophe is possession. So its meat small would be ITS, no apostrophe. And so again, just some sort of generality, specificity, contraction, possession, something. And so, and again, it's what's it's contracts. It is what it is from 5 syllables to 3. And so context defines a variable as highlighted by deriving spelling meaning from a word's use in a sentence. Go watch a spelling bee. Can you use that in a sentence? It shows again so pronunciation. I want to make this differentiation. Pronunciation is the proper way to say a word. Enunciation is the way you do say a word, like in a given instance. So a word has a proper pronunciation, and you enunciate when you say a word. I don't know why, but I do want to make that differentiation. Again, deep intuition for me between enunciate with an E, E-N-U-N-C-I-A-T-E, and pronounce. But we talked about... Oh, here's another example. Oh, here's, again, another nuance of language that's kind of interesting. When do you say up? When do you say down? Again, we've talked about how direction is relative. If the sun is here, Earth is here, Jupiter's here. If we're over here on Earth on this side, and our gravity vector is pointing this way, and you're over here on this, what you would say down is this way. And if you're on Jupiter, you're on the other side, you'd say down is this way. So direction is relative. But when do you say up and when do you say down in casual conversation? Let's consider the following example. There's 2 people, a little Johnny and little Timmy. Little Johnny says to little Timmy, "What's up, Timmy? You want to go to dinner? After that, we can rail blow and get hookers." That was little Johnny. And then Timmy responds, "Absolutely, I'm down. I just have to finish cooking up this goon sesh to Livy Dunn and collect my phantom tax from my mom." And so we see Johnny has initiated the interaction with Timmy by saying, "What's up?" Why does he do that? I don't know. What's up? The sun, right? People say that all of the time, or kind of as like the sarcastic response to the literalness of what's being presented. And then little Timmy, before he is gooning, he says he's down. I'm down. Why does that mean agreement? Why do I say I'm down to do something with you? What the fuck does that mean? But we do it. We use it. And so again, what does that mean? But I'm showing an empirical function of language. What do we make with it? Do we do anything with it, or do we just let that fact simmer and then plug it into another fact some other time? What does sensorality with an S do that sensorality with a C doesn't? Again, have emotionality. But sensorality with a C and with an S is our fundamental dichotomistic pair. Again, talking about how we root from our 3-dimensional world, everything's interacting. Wherever 2 or more are gathered during the presence of agreement or the ability to confirm a measurement. 3 is the first stabilized shape. 3 sides, 3 vertices into a triangle. 3 words for a definition of an axiom, or for a unique definition of an axiom. And so that pair, again, currently filtration is the concept that unifies the 2 words of sensorality, differentiating sensorality out into the C and to the S. So that's our stability of 2. That's our fundamental dichotomistic pair. But the operative word we're using for sensorality right now is attraction, and the definite operative word for speciality is differentiation. So sensorality is personal. That's sensorality with an S. And here's a general complete definition. What is sensorality? It's personal. So it is all things, all occurrences to when the next person says, "It's nothing personal, bro. It's not personal." So what is sensorality? It is all actions or all sequence of events that lead somebody else to say, "It's not personal." Right? It's just business. It's nothing personal. Business is personal. The best way to get a good business is to have good personal relationships. 100%. Well, we can't say that in completeness, because you can have a good product, but that's not the point. But that is a complete infinite set that is innumerable but complete. We can completely define the minimum things you need to articulate the whole set. Just anything that elicits the response, "It's nothing personal." Because there it is, there's the general, it is nothing personal. The it, that's sensorality. But vibration filters sensorality with a C. Literally, if you take a Chalamdi, that Indian name, if you take a plate vibrated at a given frequency with discrete sand granules, they'll form out resonance patterns. Go Google it. I mean, it's a well-known experiment. But so very literally, sensorality, or what did I say? Vibration filters sensorality. And so kind of, again, flipping the logic, because we know vibration, trying to connect all of these things, making sensorality at the end. Because again, if we have a definition, definitions are definite, they're finite, right? DE, finite. And so we flipped that, we take sensorality, now we're ending the sentence with sensorality. And so again, just trying to, all of these little nuances come into establishing this definition. This axiom has to conceptually map, show comprehensivity over all of the other axioms we've introduced, which again is just 6, I believe, and there's 2 about the prime numbers. And again, I'm talking the ones I literally wrote in my paper. Again, we've provided way more poignant results for the paper is written in a way that's directly to tie to academia. Again, the context of when I wrote my paper was I'd already done the initial proofing. Academia had already seen the initial proofing, but I just had to slap together a paper to try to put it out there, formalize it more, and it's a good paper. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's the paper, but because I wasn't allowed to do scientific research at OSU as a paying student because socioeconomic factors, again, our speciality. If we don't want to be, we're different, bro. You can't be the next big scientist thing. Kind of like didn't let me do science as a paying student, so it's hard to explain to the context of how and why my paper was written the way it was. It's plenty fine as it is, but it's just there's a lot of background, and we will talk about that. But if you're at this point in this lecture, if you followed anything I've done, you already pretty much know. It's just my educational journey has been pretty fucking fucked. But that is what, so it just has to, again, the 2 number fields, the one about prime numbers, we've made profoundly more advancements in numbers in general. Again, the continuous pressure gradient, that's nothing. Again, speciality, that's direct, that's what we're talking about now. But again, just go look at that. It's in the boundaries and universal boundary conditions and axioms episode. Just go watch that. It's played out. There's nice little visuals on the screen for you. Context defines a variable. We said that. And so again, we'll just leave it at that. Comprehensivity. So sensorality has to show comprehensivity of speciality. With sensorality with an S will show comprehensivity out of all of it. And so again, what does that exactly look like? You can go look at my speciality proof. And again, the core moments of when these things happened were emailed. And so it's not, it's so prolific that it's literally everywhere. It's an email, it's on this lecture, it's on this lecture, it's over here, it's over there. But that is what I wanted to cover today. And again, probably about an hour, 2-hour derivation session gets me about an hour worth of lecturing content, and I can always do more. But just really trying to solidify this definition. But thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.